Okay, so there's this story that sounds completely made up. A kid who can't speak properly, fails school twice, gets written off by his own father as a lost cause, somehow grows up to be the one man standing between his country and total Nazi invasion. Except it actually happened. His name was Winston Churchill, and this is one of the wildest comeback stories in modern history. Let's get into it. Level 1, the stammer. You are 9 years old, at boarding school in England, and you're struggling badly. You've got a stutter, and you're near the bottom of your class. Your actual school reports call you unpunctual, careless, and lacking in ambition. Quick context. In Victorian England, this basically follows you for life. If you're not brilliant by your teens, doors just close. Your own father is a rising political star in Parliament, and by most accounts, he barely has time for you. You fail your entrance exams more than once. You finally scrape into military school on your third attempt, near the bottom of the class. Nobody in your family thinks you're going anywhere. Level 2, the escape. You are 24 years old now, a cavalry officer and part-time war correspondent covering the Boer War in South Africa. Your armored train gets ambushed, and you're captured and thrown into a prisoner of war camp. Most guys in your position sit tight and wait it out. You don't. In the middle of the night, you scale the camp wall completely alone. No map, no weapon, barely a plan. You walk almost 300 miles through enemy territory. You hide in a mine shaft for days. You hop freight trains in the dark, praying nobody checks the cargo, and somehow you make it out alive. When the story hits the newspapers back home, you become a national hero almost overnight. Historians still point to this as the moment nobody could call you a lost cause anymore. Level 3, the disgrace. You've ridden that fame into politics fast, and now you're running the entire British Navy as First Lord of the Admiralty. In World War I, you push hard for a massive naval invasion at Gallipoli in modern-day Turkey. Your pitch, hit them here, open a new front, shorten the war by years. It does not go that way. The invasion becomes one of the worst military disasters of the entire war. Over 250,000 casualties. The same papers that called you a hero now call you a butcher. You're forced to resign in complete public disgrace, and at this point almost everyone assumes your career is finished for good. Level 4, the trenches. Here's the part that's actually kind of insane. Instead of disappearing quietly, you volunteer to fight in the trenches yourself, as an infantry commander, in the mud, in France. Historians generally agree it's because you genuinely had nowhere else to go and nothing left to lose. You survive months on the front line, but when you come back into politics after the war ends, nobody trusts you with real power again for a long, long time. Level 5, the wilderness. For most of the 1930s, you're politically irrelevant. No major government job, no real influence. You spend your time painting landscapes and literally laying bricks at your own house because you need the money. But you're watching something almost nobody else in Britain wants to look at directly. A man named Adolf Hitler is quietly rebuilding Germany's military in direct violation of international treaties. You stand up in Parliament, over and over, warning everyone this is heading somewhere very bad. And over, they call you a warmonger, an old man chasing relevance, someone who should retire already. For almost a decade straight, you're right. And being right does not save your career even a little bit. Level 6, the phone call. September 1939. Germany invades Poland exactly like you warned, and Britain declares war. Suddenly the guy nobody wanted around is useful again. But it's not until May 1940, when Hitler's army crushes France in weeks, that the entire British government collapses under the pressure. The sitting prime minister resigns. And somehow, the only name left standing that both parties can agree on is you. You become prime minister on what might genuinely be the worst day in a century to take that job. Level 7, the beaches. Within days of taking office, over 300,000 British and Allied soldiers are trapped on a beach in France called Dunkirk, German tanks closing in behind them. People inside your own war cabinet quietly float the idea of negotiating peace with Hitler while there's still something to bargain with. You say no. Flatly, you order basically every boat in Britain that can float, fishing trawlers, ferries, private yachts, to cross the English Channel and pull those soldiers off the sand. On paper, this should not work. It works. Over 300,000 men make it home. Then you stand in front of Parliament and say the words that will outlive everyone in that room. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall never surrender. Level 8. The Fire. For 57 straight nights, German bombers hammer London without stopping. This period becomes known as the Blitz. Tens of thousands of civilians die in their own homes. Entire streets get reduced to rubble overnight. You walk through the wreckage yourself, the morning after every raid, not for a photograph, but because, on some level, you understand something instinctively. People will endure almost anything if they believe the person leading them is standing in the fire right beside them. Your radio broadcasts during this period become the actual sound of British resistance for millions of people. Level 9. The Turn. The war grinds on for years. America eventually joins after Pearl Harbor. The Soviets grind down German forces on the Eastern Front at a massive cost. By June 1944, you're helping plan the largest amphibious invasion in human history, landing Allied troops on the beaches of Normandy. You've aged visibly by this point, 5 years of war written all over your face. But for the first time since it all started, you let yourself believe Britain might actually make it through this. Level 10. The Price. May 1945, Germany surrenders. You step onto a balcony above a massive celebrating crowd in London, and in that exact moment, you are one of the most loved men on the entire planet. 2 months later, Britain holds a general election. You lose in a landslide. The country you just led through its darkest hour decides, almost immediately, that the man who won them the war isn't necessarily the man they want rebuilding it. You're voted out of office within weeks of literally saving your own nation from invasion. Here's a detail most people skip past. You don't just disappear after that loss. You get elected prime minister again in 1951, in your late 70s, and serve several more years before finally stepping down. When you die in 1965, your funeral becomes one of the largest state funerals in British history, with world leaders from dozens of countries in attendance. Here's what I think is actually the point of this whole story. You spent basically your entire life being underestimated as a struggling kid, as a disgraced commander,